Welcome to Smart Brown Voices, your weekly podcast featuring diverse voices from around the world, giving you insights on how others made it big in their respective fields. Now sit back, grab a notebook, and get ready to be inspired. And don't forget to use hashtag #SmartBrownVoices to share insights, moments of wisdom, and things from the show that inspire you. And now, here's your host, social media nerd and technology activist, Mr. Mike Street.
What's up and good morning to the Smart Brown Voices audience. This is episode 71, I think. So it is Christmas week. We are here in New York City, about to head out to DC and enjoy, all of the good Christmas things, and gonna check out the new casino that just opened, the MGM Grand in DC, and then also probably hit up the Museum of African American Culture again. So this is your host, Mr. Mike Street. And today we're actually going to talk about something that's going to be super important for 2017, and it's called negotiating. You're going to be able to need to negotiate your money, your advertising for your podcast, whatever it is in life, negotiations. It's pretty much going to be a part of it because, let's face it, with the Trump administration coming, we're going to have a hard year. So today's is a master negotiator. His name is Kwame. Kwame, welcome to the show. So tell us about how you kind of got into this whole, being a master negotiator space. And you're actually a certified negotiator. That's correct?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I don't know about master negotiator, but I'm trying. I'm learning.
Can you negotiate me $1 million?
Depends. I guess that's a good chance to use my classic lawyer line of "it depends," right? But yeah, so I'm a lawyer by trade, and so they don't really have a negotiation certification. It's just the skill set you develop, and I really fell into this through law school. I didn't have it on my radar, but I was always interested in how people think because I studied psychology. I always was interested in human cognition and decision making. And then I went into law school and got a law degree and a master's of public policy. And I stumbled into this negotiation class. And the only reason I did it was because it fit into my schedule at the time. And so I did the class, and I found it really fascinating because to me, it's the most transferable business skill. I was able to learn something in class and then use it that evening in a conversation with my wife. And so I was hooked after that. So I took part in a couple of negotiation competitions. So think of like debate team or mock trial for law students, but for negotiation. And my partner and I were able to win the competition at Ohio State. And then we were able to go to regionals and represent the school there in Ottawa, Ontario, and we won that competition too. And then we made it to the semifinals of nationals in New Orleans, Louisiana. And so after that, I just could not get enough, and that's where I am now.
So define negotiation for us. I think people kind of have a little bit of an understanding of it, but kind of give us a clear definition of what it means to negotiate.
Yeah, and I'm glad you asked this question because this is hugely important. And so my definition of a negotiation is anytime you're in a conversation with somebody and somebody in that conversation wants something. And it's a very broad definition because negotiation is everywhere. And the most important negotiations we have are going to be with the people who are closest to us. So like our colleagues, our family, our significant others, bosses, those type of things. The classic Hollywood negotiation of sitting down in a business suit with stern faces across the table from the opponent is pretty rare. But the thing is, negotiation happens every day, and the better we are able to recognize those opportunities for negotiation, the more opportunities we have to get more and strengthen relationships.
So now, why is it important for us to really kind of have negotiation in our, in our kind of basket of tools, for our everyday life? Because like you said, there's always a negotiation kind of happening all around us all the time. So why is it an important skill?
Yeah, it's one of those skills where sometimes you could say, I'm going to focus on my strength. For instance, if you're a doctor, you're like, I'm going to focus on medicine and I'm not going to pay attention to law. I'll hire a lawyer for that. Something like that. But negotiation isn't one of those skills that you can just avoid. It's like you have two options. Either you can negotiate and do it well, or you can negotiate and do it poorly. There's no third option of not negotiating. It's going to happen whether you want it or not. So as a professional or just as a breathing human, it's good for you to improve these skills so you can start to get more of what you want. Because once you start to realize all of these opportunities you have to negotiate and you start negotiating, you'll wonder how you lived before, because you're going to ask yourself, like, why wasn't I asking for what I wanted? And how much good stuff did I miss out on simply because I didn't recognize there was an opportunity to get more?
Okay, so this is important. So let's play a scenario here.
Oh yes, let's do it. This will be fun.
Right. So say I'm a client and you're like a contractor and you want, I don't know, $10,000. How do you negotiate? How would you best negotiate that kind of situation where the client maybe only want to pay like one price, but you want to get, a bit more because, your skills are up there and you've worked really hard and you feel like you deserve that money. So what would be some tactics that you would approach that kind of a situation with?
Oh, this is going to be a blast. Okay, cool. So what we want to do is first, you want to do a quick analysis of value. What's valuable to you and what's valuable to them. And so you need to do a lot of research and figure out what they really want. And then for you as the contractor, you have to understand that you are the expert in that space. So it should be you that's leading the conversation. And so for all of your services, you want to try and assign a dollar value to everything that you do. And then you want to pack as much value as you can into your offer. So let's say hypothetically, this person, you think that you think that a reasonable price would be $7,000, but you think if you were to give them the primary deluxe service that you have, you could put enough value in there to warrant a point of $10,000. That's where you want to start the conversation. You want to pack in as much value as possible and start from the highest price point that you can justify and begin there. And then if the person says, oh, it's not in my budget, what you want to do is you don't want to give them something for nothing. So you don't want to concede without a plan. You always want to concede points and money with a strategy in mind. And so it's like, okay, if you can't do 10,000 and you want to do 8,000 or 9,000, that would result in the losing this service. So you're not going to get that whole package at a discounted price. It's like, okay, if that's the case, I'm going to have to take something away. But the second thing you don't want to do is you don't want to negotiate against yourself. So think about a negotiation like a dance. I take a step forward, you take a step forward, and then we end up somewhere in the middle of the room that works for both of us. But when you negotiate against yourself, they take a step forward and then you take a step backwards. And so that's the example of you putting forward that $10,000 offer, and then they say, ooh, that's too high. Then you're like, well, does 9,000 work? And so you're doing their work for you. You want to give them an opportunity to counter, and then you get that back and forth. But it all has to start with a calculation of value. And lastly, you want to make sure that you don't just keep a myopic focus on money, because there's more at stake than money. And so, for instance, I was in a negotiation yesterday talking about potential speaking engagement, and my offer was beyond their price point, but I started to ask about different similar organizations that they know around the country, because if I can get them to give me recommendations and introductions to other clients, that's valuable to me. So I'll be willing to drop my price in return for that too. So I know that was a little bit long, but you got me super excited. And I love talking about this stuff.
All right. So to recap, so first we define our value and associate dollar amounts to our skill sets. And then the second point was to, kind of be able to take, a little bit some steps forward and some steps back, or, pull some things away. Mm-hmm. Yep. And then thirdly is, figure out what are some other value propositions for you as a business owner. Because if they, maybe they can't pay your high price, but they can offer you something, something else that's beneficial, like, I wonder if the police always roll past when I'm podcasting.
I was thinking that's New York, man.
Yeah.
That
Um, and then so the third one is to figure out what are some other value adds for yourself as a business owner that organization might be able to bring you if they can't meet um, your monetary value. So really don't think about money, but think about what are some other tangible things like business contacts or new business or speaking engagements or being an opportunity to sell your book or something like that. So I think those are like really powerful takeaways when you are kind of negotiating. And so, what if you come up, what if you come up with someone who's really kind of I don't know, like a bull when it comes to like they're just really hard, fast, and stuck, and aren't willing to negotiate with you? What are some tactics to handle someone like that?
That's a great question. And what you need to do is before every negotiation, you need to consider your walkaway point, because you need to think about negotiation not as the art of deal making, but the art of deal discovery. Sometimes there are going to be situations where a deal simply doesn't exist. And so if you think of it as deal making, you'll feel pressured to make inappropriate concessions to make a deal happen when it really should never have happened. And so if you're going against somebody that's a bulldog and they keep pushing you and pushing you and pushing you. So let's go back to this example of the me as a contractor trying to get a client, and the person says, no, I want 5,000. Before that negotiation, I need to say, listen, my bottom line is 7,000. There has to be a point, a cutoff point. And when you go into a conversation knowing what your lines are, you won't feel pressured, because if somebody's saying 5,000 and you're like, sorry, I can't go that low, and they just keep saying no, 5,000, and they start pounding the table, it's like, I'm sorry, then this deal simply won't work. And you can say that with confidence because you've done the analysis beforehand. You know where you can go and where you can't. And another thing too, when it comes to negotiation, especially when you're dealing with somebody who is a bulldog, you don't want to match force with force. You want to think about it more as a judo match than a tug of war. And so they're going to want power. They're going to want to feel respected in that situation. And you can do that. But you don't do that by trying to bully them back. And so what I like to do is I ask a lot of questions. And studies have demonstrated that the best negotiators ask on average twice as many questions as people who aren't as good at negotiating. And so you ask open-ended questions, get them to talk, and let them feel like they're in control. But the beautiful thing is when you're asking questions, even though their foot might be on the gas pedal, your hand's on the steering wheel, and you're directing the conversation. And so give them the opportunity to talk. If you have points that you want to make those points through questions, not through direct statements. Because when you make direct statements, people have up their guard. But if you ask questions, you can lead them to come to your conclusion just by forcing them to go through problem solving through the use of open-ended questions.
What will really come through when you're answering those questions, when you're negotiating with a client or anyone, is being able to answer those questions, and really like helping to remove any layers of doubt that they might have, because again, it might be them spending, a lot of money on a particular project. And, if you can sit there and show like, hey, I am the expert, I can answer these type of questions and I can solve your business problem. I think that's where, you'll win and you'll be able to succeed, and you'll be able to negotiate your way to more money and to more success. And I think that's where, all of these tactics can really like come into play and can be super helpful with what everyone out there who is listening to this episode is trying to do. And so I really think it's important to like really learn the art of negotiation and being able to kind of go back and forth with someone who, might be, a little sticky on your price or a little fidgety with what you're about to embark on. But if you can answer those questions and really kind of put them at ease and say like, this is going to be money well spent, and this is going to be money that's going to, move your business forward. I think those are the two big questions that, a lot of the business owners out there, especially when they're hiring a consultant or hiring a new agency, are looking to kind of, have more clarity on, so when you sit down with them, make sure that you're asking as many questions as possible and removing like any layers of doubt. And you want to let them know like you are the expert and you can handle, that you understand their business and that you can help them really move everything forward.
Right. And one thing that I suggest too is the preparation stage is the most important stage in the negotiation. And so for me, before every negotiation, I have a list of open-ended questions that I'm going to ask, because it's really tough to come up with really high-level questions off the fly. And so I come into those conversations with those questions ready to go. I also come into the conversation understanding that there are going to be some questions that come to me that might be difficult. And I don't want to show hesitation. I don't want them to think that I'm lacking in confidence here. And so what I do is I write a list of all of the most difficult questions they could ask and what my response would be to those. And when you come forward in these conversations really prepared, it demonstrates your confidence, and it also makes them feel like you are more competent to solve their problems. And so with my podcast, the Negotiation for Entrepreneurs podcast, I have this freebie for the listeners, and I'll give it to your audience too. It's a negotiation prep guide that you can go through before your big negotiations and the small ones, because those always happen too. So if you go to AmericanNegotiationInstitute.com/prep, PREP, you can download that free negotiation guide and start to prepare for your negotiations a little bit more thoughtfully before they happen.
Awesome. Kwame, thank you so much for coming on this episode. And we're going to link to all of your social media, and, definitely check out Kwame's podcast, which is also featured in iTunes as one of the top podcasts to listen to, so you can learn all about the art of negotiation, because it's really, especially for 2017, that's going to be really important, because we're going to be in for a weird year, and we need to have all skill sets in play. So actually, as I talk about arming our community with all the tools that we need, we're working on an episode called the Donald Trump Survival Kit. And so it's going to have a couple of different guests in the episode, and we're going to talk about how to protect ourselves from a little bit of everything. So look out for that episode, which is coming up soon. It's going to have some of the members of the Smart Brown Voices podcasting community that you've heard from in the past come on and really talk about like the different apps we need to start using, like Signal, so that we can make sure all of our messages are encrypted. And just how we should, be financially secure, as we move into 2017 and beyond. So look out for that. So Kwame, let us know, is there anything else that you're working on that you want to share with the audience?
Yeah, for the next 6 months or so, my focus is going to be on helping business partners who are at war. And as a business lawyer, in my life as a business lawyer, I've seen too many good businesses fail because of bad relationships. And so one thing that I'm doing is I'm using these dispute resolution skills to work with with business partners who aren't on the same page and don't want to end the business and want to try and rebuild the relationship. I work with them and do essentially some mediation with the goal of coming together and creating a system of communication that works for both of them. So for those of you who that kind of jives with, if you go to AmericanNegotiationInstitute.com/partner, you can get a free guide that can help you to identify some of the weaknesses in your partnership, so you can start to get on the same page and do what you want to do with your business, which is help people and make money.
That sounds like that would be a good a good series of podcasts, like where you had two different business owners who don't see on the same level, and like how do they work it out or not work it out.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to make a mini series called the Partnership Chronicle sometime in 2017. I already have a lot of the interviews done. Just trying to get that material out there as much as possible for free, because it's like it's something that plagues all of us. And you think about it, a business partnership is a relationship similar to marriage, but with business partnerships, it's almost like they get married in the infatuation stage. It's like, hey, you have a business idea, I have a similar one, let's get married, let's do it. And then they don't really think about the relationship. And then, in 6 months, you wake up and you look at your business partner and you're like, who am I married to? So my goal is to try to make sure that doesn't happen, so the businesses could survive.
Awesome. Well, we'll look forward to hearing that on your podcast.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, guys. So this was a wrap for episode 71. So enjoy your Christmas and Kwanzaa and Hanukkah and Festivus, and have a happy 2017. We'll be back at the top of the year. We have like a million new episodes that's coming out. Like I'm taping like crazy. So probably right after the top of the year, I'll be rolling out all of the new episodes. The first month of January is really going to focus a lot on some of our amazing female founders out there. So we have about 10 different new interviews that we've done with a lot of female founders and business owners that we'll be rolling out in 2017. So look out for that at the top of January. So thanks for listening. Thanks for making this an amazing year for the Smart Brown Voices podcast. And we'll see you at the top of 2017. And we'll be ready for Trump. Peace out.
Thanks for listening to Smart Brown Voices with your host, Mr. Mike Street. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll leave a review on iTunes and tell your friends and colleagues. Be sure to check out our archive section on our website for previous podcasts, and make sure to follow us on social media. This has been a Mr. Mike Street production. Join us next time for another edition of Smart Brown Voices, and be inspired.